it's me, Heckraiser. How the heck are ya? Happy Valentine's Day! Have you ever been in love? I have. And it's with Bean. She will always be the love of my life. Aw, thank you. Show me this rose. Huh? Aw, it's very nice. It's very nice. Yeah, you can't eat it. No. She appreciates the sentiment. With Valentine's Day, it's got me thinking. Love has obviously had a huge impact on art. But has there been a moment where an artist has taken it too far? Of course. Of course. Artists are always deeply emotional. So today we're going to talk about the most insane couple in the art industry. Really, probably the most insane couple. And that is Marina and Ulay. If you're familiar with performance art, you might have recognized Marina Abramovic in one of her most notable solo performances called Rhythm Zero, where she gave the public 6 hours to do whatever they wanted to her body. And yeah, the results were demoralizing. Marina is now known for her successful solo career in fine performance art. However, a huge portion of her art was tied to a man named Ulay. Marina and Ulay met in 1976 in Amsterdam. They declared their meeting as karmic fate due to their individual experience in performance art and the fact that they were born on the same day. Twinsies! November 30th, so that's... Hold on, let me look that up. November 30th. Horoscope. Ooh, so they're both Sagittarius. Ooh, okay. Their relationship spiraled into an intense love and creative partnership. They both dropped everything, including their previous marriages, to be with one another and became inseparable. For the next 5-ish years, they traveled around Europe together, performing at museums and developing their series called The Relation Work Project, with their first performance called Relation in Space. In this performance, Marina and Ulay repeatedly ran into each other naked, getting faster each time. They continuously knock each other over, with Ulay later stating that they were black and blue by the end of it. The purpose of this piece was to combine male and female energy in order to create a third component, which they called That Self, to showcase their unity. And it's like, you're so obsessed with each other, you just want to be inside each other's skin, but you can't, so you gotta like... I feel like this would have almost been an ego thing for Ulay, because look at poor Marina. She's just falling over each time he's like, what? What? Come at me, bro. She's getting knocked the heck out. He had to know that wasn't fair. But I don't know. Maybe this is foreshadowing. I don't know. If you thought they couldn't get close enough, one of their most notable performances, called Breathing In, Breathing Out, had them locking lips, open-mouthed, with cigarette filters in their noses, so that they would only breathe each other's air, and they would exchange their carbon monoxide back and forth until one of them passes out. They only breathed each other's breath for nearly 20 minutes until they both collapsed and gasped for air. This was done to test the limits of the body, to show the duality between man and women. It's a very similar theme throughout most of these performances, but also this takes the whole I only want to breathe her air energy to like a whole new level. Like, find you a man who only wants to breathe your air. If he ain't breathing my carbon monoxide, I don't want him. Get him out of here. Can you imagine if like one of them ate garlic bread or onion rings before that? That would be a breakup for me. Oh my god, I'd be so pissed. I'd be so mad. I'd be like, God, he was just so suffocating. This is similar to a later exhibit called I don't know how to pronounce that. Yeah, peep the thumbnail. Where they sat across from each other screaming as they were inching closer and closer together until they were just screaming into each other's mouths. This lasted for about 15 minutes until they were out of breath and exhausted. And this was made to explore the aggression between a male and female figure. It's almost similar to the first performance, except hopefully less painful. Honestly, Kyle and I should do this because we're both hangry all the time, and he always wants to eat Taco Bell, and I always want to eat chicken strips, and I feel like we should just scream into each other's mouths until one of us collapses. And the first one to collapse loses. Yeah. Healthy conflict resolution. One of their most visual distinct performances was called Relation in Time. They be locking them ponytails together. They sat back to back with their hair tied to each other's hair, until they couldn't take it any longer. Do you notice a theme? You notice a theme here? It's all about endurance. They sat there for 17 hours. God, that looks so uncomfortable. No, she looks uncomfortable. Oh, because he's tall, so it's easy for him. He's taller. She has to lean back more, like arch her neck more. I don't know. My neck, my back, my neck. I'm not sure what originally brought them this idea, but they came to the conclusion that this was a study done to see if the energy of an audience could help them endure longer. So they sat there for 16 hours without an audience. It was just a cameraman who took a picture every hour with them. And when they couldn't take it any longer, they brought the audience in, and then they were able to last for like another hour. This makes me want to One of their studies on gender was done with Marina and Ulay standing naked in a tight hallway facing each other. They encouraged people to walk through, but it only left enough space so that you had to squeeze past and face one of them. But you'd also still be brushing up against their naked bodies, so there's that. Who would you choose to face? I think that's a good question. I feel like that's such a hard decision because, I mean, they're both naked, so either way, it's going to be extremely vulnerable and extremely awkward. Would it be an easier decision if they were clothed, though? Like, if they had clothes on, who would you choose? If they didn't have clothes on, because they don't, who would you choose? Like, why do they always gotta be naked? That's what I'm trying to say. Let me know in the comments below how you'd walk through that hallway. I am very curious. And I won't judge, honestly, because I can't decide either. In 1980, aside from the Relation Project, Marina and Ulay were standing on opposite ends of a bow. This was called rest energy. Ulay was at the end holding the arrow back, and he had the power to kill her at any moment. This was to portray the assumed dominance men have over women, but Marina also held the bow from the opposite end. While the arrow still faces her, she has her own power as a woman to determine the outcome of the situation. And I really like this one because it shows that women do have the power to choose their own fate. But also it takes some insane trust to even put yourself in this situation in the first place. But I can see how she's a little uncomfortable because she kind of looks tense. Like, look at her little fist. Look at her hand. But, I mean, I would be too. As the years of performing went on, their performances became just a little less intense. Just a little. But still, a picture of the duality is their series Night Sea Crossing that they had performed from 1981 to 1987. Marina and Ulay performed 22 times while traveling all over the world together to sit across from each other and face each other. They would face each other for hours on end to show that even though their bodies were still, the mind can wander and function separately. But also just taking getting lost in her eyes to a whole new level. However, the endurance of the series, and I'm sure the exhaustion of their years and years of performance together, was starting to bear weight on them. Ulay no longer had the endurance he used to, and at one point he gave up and walked out on Marina during the performance, which left her baffled. Marina and Ulay's relationship came to a dramatic end with their last and final performance together called The Lovers, The Great Wall Walk. In 1983, Marina and Ulay planned to individually walk from opposing ends toward each other on the Great Wall of China to meet in the middle and wed. They would also be the first people to walk the Great Wall of China, which means they needed approval by the country to do it. They battled the bureaucracy for years. China was like, "Nuh-uh, I don't know you people. This is weird. Why are you trying to walk the Great Wall of China? It's dangerous." So for years they denied the visas, they were denying the permits, and this left a big strain on their relationship. By the time they had approval from China to do this, it was 1988, and their relationship had fallen apart due to various personal reasons. Their success had changed, and they both had different ideas for their future. Marina wanted to get into more commercial art, she wanted to become more mainstream, and Ulay kind of wanted to stay behind the scenes. And I'm sure the exhaustion of it all, literal physical exhaustion from their performances, definitely played a factor, and there was some infidelity. Well, you know these two are committed to the bit. You know it. So they're gonna walk anyway. They're walking the Great Wall, they got the approval, but they were not set to wed. The journey of walking the Great Wall of China took 90 days. They had assistants, translators, photographers to accompany them. They camped under the stars, as well as stayed in various hostels and villages around the wall, which would usually be about a 2-hour walk each day. So, ooh, my feet. My feet are aching just thinking about it. Oh. And to be honest, I had no idea the wall was that big. Like, why did I think it was a mile? I need to go back to school. They walked 2,500 kilometers each from opposite ends of the Great Wall of China to finally meet in the middle. They hugged and said their goodbyes with a long, exhausting, riveting, and dangerous adventure to conclude their 12-year partnership as artists and lovers. But yeah, no, they accomplished so much together, and to be each other's muse is really just like so special. You know, unfortunately, I do think that their relationship was probably a little toxic and probably a little abusive at some points, because I mean, they were literally running into each other and causing each other bruises and fighting each other until exhaustion. Ulay actually surprised Marina in 2010 and reappeared. So Marina, she is now a world-renowned performance artist. She is very, very, very famous. She's got her own museum, and she is doing this thing that is very similar to Night Sea Crossing, called The Artist is Present, where she meets with strangers and she faces them and stares into their souls and stares into their faces and just really tries to connect with them on a unconscious level. And Ulay showed up, and they had a really beautiful reconnection, and it was just kind of like Night Sea Crossing again, but hopefully in a much more positive tone and light, and I'm sure there was a lot of emotions. It definitely came to a surprise to her because she was crying. She was not expecting it at all. So, fortunately, Ulay died in 2020, but Marina still lives on. She is still very busy. She's still kicking. She's doing crazy things still. She is an icon. And I would love to visit her museum someday. I think it would be so fun. It was so awesome and so fun to learn about their relationship and to learn about their performance art. I've never been a performance art person. I wasn't really aware. I have heard of her from Rhythm Zero. To learn about gender performance and the unconscious, I think their work really does mean a lot to society, and I think it means a lot to the art world. I understand why they're so popular and famous, of course, and I think I will be telling people all about it from now on. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, like and subscribe below, and find you a person who wants to breathe your air forever until they collapse. I hope you guys have a happy Valentine's Day. Kiss your homies goodnight. And I'll see you later. Bye.